Good evening, people. Welcome to season 4, episode 2 of Charcha Unplugged, powered by Here to Here. We have with us Vipin Varghese today. So let me tell you a little bit about him. Vipin is a high school teacher in Holy Child Senior Secondary School, Tagore Garden, Delhi. Yes, he's a Delhiite, and he's also a freelance photographer. And you can check his Instagram page. It's Simpleton. That Simpleton. Yes, that is his Instagram page. And he also pursues fine-art photography and cinematography. He is also a basketball coach. So he is a teacher, player, photographer, freelancer, everything you need. So all the Delhi people out there, all the ones around also, Vipin is the man if you want to pursue something that he is pursuing. Hi Vipin, it's now time for you to say hello to us and tell us about yourself. And also tell us what do you love about being a teacher or maybe something you don't.
Okay, hello there, and thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for being, letting me have this opportunity to speak. Thanks to Live Jam, and also just want to say that Here to Here has been a very important, movement which I've have been having something close to in my heart. So I've been excited to speak about it, to get some awareness out there in social media through it as well. I've been actively working with LiveJam for a few years as well, and aiding and assisting with whatever production I can help them with. And it's finally a good feeling to actually be in front of the camera rather than behind the camera. So that's something very different as well. Um, you asked a lot of questions, so I'm just going to break it down one by one. What is it that I am most passionate about being a teacher? I have been saying this like a broken tape recorder, that I love teaching. I have been in love with this career since I was a kid, and not for the good reasons. When I was like 7 years old, I preferred to be a better teacher than the ones who were teaching me. I thought that some teachers, I'm not going to name names, but some teachers did a very crappy job, and I thought I could do better than that. And I was 7 years old that time, and I was very over the top of my head, like arrogant about some things. But life humbled me, but my heart got molded stronger and stronger towards this as a career and passion. And here I am, about what, 25. I don't want to reveal my age, but a few decades later, I am here as a teacher and extremely happy with where I am in my life. I am blessed to be, or let's even say, like, privileged to be in a place where I can influence some people in my life whom I consider really close to, my students, and the people who have taught in multiple schools before, where I teach currently as well, especially in the school where I teach right now as well. And teaching has always been the driving force in me. The only reason I would wake up in the morning is try to get to my students to share something with them, an experience, the syllabus, something special, something out of the box, reading between the lines in textbooks, trying to figure out the flaws of where we live and how we can fix the flaws through working together and getting to do something special out of the ordinary, making our own talents count. And I've been encouraging my students to do it my entire life. So glad to be here for that. And that's what makes me passionate, I guess, to be a teacher. I can't remember the other questions you asked me. Is that all?
Yeah, that's amazing to hear that you've been so passionate about teaching since you were a child, and I think it's a great way of looking at teaching as a profession for all the young aspirants probably who are looking for a career. So all the people who are there in our chat box, if you're a learner, if you're a student, you can see a person happy and very, very passionate about teaching, and maybe you could pursue that as well if you have an interest in that field. That's amazing, Vipin. And teaching has always had a lot of variety that it brings in front of us, and every day is full of different changes. And since you're so passionate about it, I'm sure you would have a lot to tell us and share with us that how you have been flexible, how you've been flexible, and you've been able to adapt to the online classes platform. Because last year, I think saw a massive change in the teaching learning platform. So, what has
Yeah.
been your experience in conducting online classes? Any challenges you faced and how you overcame them?
Whew, that's a huge Pandora's box that you've opened up here. There's a
Yeah.
lot to unpack here. I mean, I'm sure, very sure, you being a fellow teacher yourself would understand a whole new game changer when online teaching happened and the pandemic hit us in multiple ways. It's not just mental, emotional; it's also professional and work wise, and for students to like be encouraged to sit in front of a screen and try to get something out of what the teacher is saying. It's taxing, it's challenging for both parties, for the teacher and the student. So the first thing I would say is that it is not a challenge as long as you're ready to adapt. That's the first thing I teach my kids as well, as much as I try to through example, if not by words. I've never said it to my students, but I've always told them that if the situation is not in your favor, it is time for you to adapt. And it's not going to be a challenge unless you pose it something as um, like it can't be attained or it can't be achieved or it can't be repaired if it's something damaged in your own life or in your professional experience. If you have some handicap in front of you, you will always find a way to go through around it as long as you have a new perspective. The one thing which I even faced professionally as a photographer, my entire business shut down professionally as a photographer because there was no one ready to come to a shoot. There was no one ready to allow a photographer to enter another area until they trust the person. And as a freelancer, if you don't have good clientage, you just suffer a lot. So even there, I suffered like extremely in terms of how the pandemic affected my career. But as a teacher, especially with the online platform, I feel that it only led for me to find another way around it. It's just like a mountain erupted in front of me, and I had to figure out where the next valley is and to go around it and try to figure out what to do with it. And in my journey, I started talking to my students offline. I mean, off classes, outside of classes. I started to speak to them through telephone calls, through Zoom calls outside of the classrooms, and try to figure out what's the best way to like get them comfortable in a way where I can. There was a lot of challenges through interaction. There was a lot of challenges in interaction because having 50 or over 50 sometimes, like even close to 80 voices in a Zoom call, trying to speak simultaneously would be taxing. I've never had that problem because I always keep it like one directional. My flow of education is always from me to them, and then after the class is over, I get to spend time with them individually over WhatsApp, over Zoom calls. If they need any greater assistance, I would just call them up. So it's a lot about extra effort and finding your way around it rather than just finding it as a challenge and overcoming it like it's like a weightlifting match. It's never going to be like a weightlifting match. It's going to be you learning something every day through an experience, making mistakes, getting students who would try to even dismantle or hamper your class and try to fix, make play pranks, and even then finding the mature stance and trying to figure out where that action comes from, where that child is motivated to do certain things to gain that kind of attention. They don't want that kind of attention, even though they would do the action for a certain craving, and that craving is coming from somewhere I don't think they would mean to do. Even if the student is effectually mean or rude to me, I would want to understand where it would come from. And that's the only thing that I had to figure out throughout the year. And I'm still doing it. It's not a complete story, it's still in process.
Yeah, so true. I think you talked about flexibility and being adaptive and being teachers. I think we need to be the role model. So we need to adapt and be flexible and really show students that where there's a will, there's a way. So you have to really turn your way around where things don't work and be really, really flexible. So thank you for sharing how you face those challenges. And I'm pretty sure that all the people in our chat box are also somewhere learners or students or teachers or must have done something new over this period of lockdown. So we would like to know from you also. So all the lovely people in the chat box, please feel free to share with us the challenges that you faced through online classes and through e-learning and what can be done to better it. And the moment we all come together, I am pretty sure we can really find a solution or a middle path, and many of our problems can also get solved that way. Now, Vipin, I would like to ask you, that when this pandemic happened, we all tried to adapt and we tried to change ourselves. And now it's time to come back to normal. So we're coming back to normal, but it's the new normal. So it's so different, right? So how do you maintain your emotional health, your mental health, because you have a professional life, you have a personal life? What habits, or how do you really encourage yourself to get up every day and face the challenges that come to you?
Okay, so each question becomes a bigger Pandora's box. It's one after another. So there's a lot of unpacking to do there as well. Uh, the the facets of a lifestyle that I've had to develop during the pandemic was very, very different from where I had been, how I had been living my life before it, and everything was like, it wasn't difficult for me. I would like to add to the point that even though I seem to be an extreme level of extrovert, I have been extremely comfortable in my pajamas, in my zone, in my house, being extremely comfortable with the lack of company that I got, even if so like even if I get little time to spend with close friends, let alone my students, I still felt really comfortable in my zone. I got to catch up on a lot of things which I could have done, but overall, I think the things which kept me emotionally insane would be, first of all, my spiritual life. Like, there's no denying that. It was a lot of time for me to get back to opening the Bible, getting through some scripture, and actually trying to figure out um, like where I can improve myself by just improving a good habit of mine. So a simple habit like that helped me a lot. My family, I can never ever thank them enough for keeping me emotionally sane. I have a very caring and loving wife. I have an adorable something I can eat up if I can, 1 year old son, and this these two people actually have been the highlight of my quarantine, and I can't thank them enough for making me pass through the entire period as well. It literally felt like sailing a boat. It was easy with them, and it makes sense that if you have the right people around you, it doesn't matter how many people are around you, how many people you miss. It's just about getting to live your moment at one day at a time. And that was also one more thing. I think the most important habit that I picked up during quarantine was taking one day at a time, not trying to overthink on what my next week will be and what my next month will be, what all the plans that got cancelled, how I can improve on my conditions with the economics condition for me, deprivating for a little bit, for a little while, waiting patiently for God to reward me for my hard work, and seeing that God was faithful to me through and through in this entire time, giving me enough to keep me content and happy with whatever I had. I think these were the habits, I would say, if that's a habit, but these were the attributes around me that kept me sane and helped me maintain something good, which also brought me to the point that I immediately reflected back to my students on. I automatically started considering how my students are feeling the opposite of what I feel. I realized how many of my students did not have um, people around them, which kept them emotionally sane, which gave them, in fact, the opposite: the stress and the challenges of having a difficult family. And I I kept in touch with as many of them as I could. I've had a lot of tear jerking moments throughout the pandemic, staying in touch with over 100 students, at least personally, as much as I could, to be in touch with them, to try to encourage them, to motivate them to get out of that phase they were in. I don't want to call it a phase though, but something they were like going through. And now that things are coming back to normal, it just doesn't feel like normal, as you said. So it doesn't feel like normal to many of the people around me, and I feel that I've been in touch with them. I've been trying to get them out of it. So that's the one thing which I felt was a struggle for me, to see if my students could go through the same. I went through it with ease, but I can't compare my life with anyone else. It's just unfair, and that's something which I had some time to digest. It was hard to bite into. So that's
Yeah.
the only thing which was like struggling for me, I guess.
I do understand that, and I can completely relate to you, Vipin, right now. The fact that you're saying that family helped you survive, and your own spiritual life that helped you survive, the positive habit formations that you made helped you survive, and they trickle down in your students through you. So that's such a great thing because the moment you're saying that you were in contact with your students, over 100 students, and you really made sure that you could encourage somebody out of the conversation that you had. This our chat box is really full of phrases for you. So, okay, I'm going to read out some of them. And
Okay.
there's Saksham who says that I'm a student of Ryan International School and you visited there once. So, somebody really remembers you from Ryan International. Hi, Saksham. We're so glad to have you here. And then there's Gurleen who says he's a very great teacher. And there is Jack, I guess, who says you have been one of the finest teachers of our school, always and forever. So I would like to clap for you over here. Applause. Oh, come on, audience, let's clap for Vipin.
Oh
He is
my
not
gosh.
only a teacher, but I think a great influencer. That's what he is. And I know him personally, but yes, as a teacher too. We are so thrilled to have you all, people in the chat box, and thank you for giving such comments, and thank you for participating. And it's really great to see how you have impacted lives, and how lives have been impacted by you. Even though it seems as if everything has been very great and you really sailed smoothly, but I know that there must have been some things, sometimes some moments when you have felt the jerk of it, and you even mentioned it, that sometimes some students are not very good in the online classes, and that is because of something probably that has happened behind. So, how do you encourage students to maybe not bully their teachers? I might not use the word bully, but pass on some comments, or maybe create a disturbance or something to jerk the class. So, if you have gone through something from your real life story, how would you encourage students not to do that?
Bullying is another huge Pandora's box. It has been a huge wave in the entire pandemic period where cyberbullying became a huge issue. Like it exploded beyond all my capacities of imagination, to be honest, because the way students have been, I guess, even like abused in many ways through DMs, through private messages, and even on public, shaming them, calling them out, giving them like coming up with weird trends and try to put out on people who were trying to put out hate on other people. I've seen that a lot myself. I have noticed it on social media. I was quiet about it through public media. I did not speak to anyone publicly, but I always approached anyone whom I thought would cross a line and anyone whom I thought would be sensible enough to have a conversation with me and not argue with me about it. So again, it was over the span of the first few months of the quarantine period, like in the first wave. You can't call it a wave, it's still going on, but I guess ever since April all the way through June, I saw a bunch of kids effectively bothering each other on social media. And I had a conversation with at least four or five of them. I could not talk to all of them because I knew there are some students that they have a mind of their own, and I'm very
Right.
sure all of the students who are watching us live on Instagram right now, they know who I'm talking about, what I'm talking about. There are always those students whom you can't argue with. There is no point of putting a statement there with the other person not trying to understand, so there's no point talking to them anyway. But anyone who's sensible enough to have a conversation with me, I've always engaged with them. None of them posed like a threatening um, frontier when they were talking to me, but they somehow got offended to some level that they think that I think ill of them because they are saying something stupid which means nothing to them on Instagram or WhatsApp or whatever, but to the student whom they are talking about, they are affected emotionally and physically a lot more. And when I say physically, I'm talking about headaches, migraines, physical stress, which is shown on their body, all the way down to conditions which they can never get out of. There can be conditions which can actually lead them through chronic depression. And having seen that, having encountered that, the best I can do is make conversation. And would always give the benefit of doubt for anyone who would like to say anything about anyone else, uh, given the fact that they're willing to approach anyone else's perspective, any other person's perspective. If they're open to see the other side of the conversation, I would always talk to them. So if any of you have tried to make fun of any of your friends or colleagues, or not colleagues, but any of your co-students or batchmates, and if you've made fun of your friends on Instagram and I've seen your story and I haven't spoken to you, you know who you are. And I just want to add with the fact that if you think it's funny to you and it's not offensive to you, and you think that it shouldn't be a problem to me, even though I'm saying very clearly that it's a problem to me, please come and talk to me. Please DM me. I'm more than happy to talk about how and where it affects you, and how and where it affects the person whom you've been speaking about. Also, I'm so sorry. Can I extend my conversation? It's about bullying, but I just remembered this. I had not even prepared this thought in my mind until just now it hit me. But in June, I think there was this unfortunate event where Sushant Singh Rajput passed away. I can be terribly wrong. Was it May or June?
I don't remember, but yes, it was that
It's
time.
between those months. I can't remember the date as well. But a lot of students of mine brought up the idea of how abusive conversations and people who are talking abusively could affect people's mental state, could lead them to depression, and one thing leads to another, yada, yada, yada. We have Sushant Singh Rajput's case, and it became a viral phenomena, and we all know about what happened. Having said that, students who were talking about it, about how students are giving their social media platform a voice, and they're acting as a voice for that person, and how he suffered before he passed away, I approached them immediately. I caught on them. I told them that what you are saying is hypocrisy. I just realized that I actually did that. I actually spoke to over 100 students, and I know this because my DMs were flooding. It was summer vacations that time, so I had plenty of time to talk to them, to have a full length conversation with over 100 students very easily. And I remember speaking to many of those girls, especially girls, because I teach in a girls' school now, so it's been mostly female students. But most of the students I've been speaking to, I immediately caught on them. I tried to have a word with them, and I ended up telling them, and even posted a story on my Instagram saying that if you really feel that this is what you think, if you feel that Sushant Singh Rajput deserves justice, then your co-students deserve justice, and what you are trying to say should not come out as hypocrisy, but should come out as a movement of love for one another. And I asked them to not mention any names, not talk about saying sorry to them, just privately DM anyone whom you have offended. DM them, say that you're sorry. Don't ask them for forgiveness, or don't say why you're saying sorry. But if you mean it, if you think you have said something, say sorry and send a virtual hug to them. Just let them know that they they
So
did
yeah,
something wrong and they acknowledge it.
I really appreciate that you did that, because a topic like that, which is so sensitive and which had really blown up the media and print media, electronic media for so
Yeah,
long, and it had
yeah.
created quite an issue among students. And how you took up that and encouraged students to look into their own lives and kind of introspect as to what they are doing.
Yep,
So I think
yep.
bullying is a very, very important topic that we have, and so much insight that you have given us into that.
Hmm.
So yes, that's great. Thank you, Vipin, for sharing that, especially with the Sushant Singh Rajput's case. So as a teacher, I think you've really helped in talking with your students. I think that's what I'm coming to. That even in your summer vacations, you mentioned, you were talking to so many students. So I think communication and conversations really do help, and I think that's how we can channelize the young minds, and we can make a shift in their direction to
Hmm.
probably what's not so right to what is right. So
Yep.
online bullying can reduce. And it was an experiment last year. Online learning was an experiment all across the globe. So I think we were all experimenting with so many things. I would like to pose a question again to you. Related to all these trends, okay? There is TikTok that came and just went. Instagram Reels have just opened up, and social media is doing a great job, great business because everybody is glued to their phones. So whether we like it or not, our life kind of, really, really depends on the internet facility and the classes that we're doing. It's all dependent on the on our mobile phones and our laptops. So it really does
Yeah.
affect us. But
Yeah.
there is a positive side to it. We're really learning and teaching and stuff. But there's also one side of it when we see a lot of videos being made, small TikTok videos being made on friendship and romance and betrayal. How in a 30-second video, romance is shared and friendship is shared or betrayal is shared. So how do you feel about the youngsters, our youth, our students, being exposed to, if I say, the toxicity that comes from these things, a lot of things that maybe they get exposed to, and some peer pressure of having a girlfriend and a boyfriend to be there to fit in the group. So how do you think they can take these things and they can balance it in their life?
All right. So a lot of things I want to talk about each and everything you said there. First of all, TikTok separately and Instagram Reels separately are pretty fun. I have actually jumped on the bandwagon myself, and I've made a few of them. But
Yeah, please
it
do tell them about your Instagram page. It's amazing. People, you need to follow him right now.
so I've been try to understand what happens in these contents, and it's called content now, so it's just basically anything and everything that goes. So yeah, what you're saying is basically very true. People pick up on trends and they just run with it, and I have a few things to say, both good things and bad things. So good things that, if given the space, as a cinematographer myself, or as someone who just wants to make something creative and fun, and especially like with a comedic touch, I always would want to try something which is, I guess, trending works. I guess, yeah, I've done trending work myself. Most of my
Yes.
photography is basically picking up on trends and giving my own taste and touch and art to it. But also try to keep something original about it to yourself. Try to keep something specifically unique to you. And people have lost that uniqueness. And students of mine who are extremely talented, extremely over the top, have lost a lot of, I guess, a lot of their opportunity to grow creatively. Try not to keep up with the trend. Try to make a trend of your own. Try to make something of your own, because you've always had something in you which is really cool, really unique. Each and every one of my students whom I follow, especially their creative IG pages, I support them fully. But when you do something which is repetitive and something which is unoriginal, I will never encourage it. And students have been asking me to share their work and share their art and whatever, and I don't like do like all of those things. I don't promote them until I find them original. But when I find something original which a student did, and it's completely off on their own, I share it without even them asking. I just encourage it. I put it on my social media instantly. If I like it, it's definitely going up there. And it's not supposed to be like a, don't take it like it's like some high place or reward to be on my story. It's a
True.
stupid thing. You're going to be on somebody's social media platform for 24 hours. That's not an achievement, people. You have better things to achieve in your life. So don't make that a pedestal. But don't also don't try to make yourself, you know, top on 10 trending or top on viral videos and stuff as a pedestal. Don't make that an achievement out of yourself. But when you're using something as a tool, TikToks, Instagram Reels, Vines in my age and day and age, I feel old now saying that. But all these social media platforms which provide you a window of opportunity, use it as what exactly it is. It is an opportunity to do something different and to try something new. And it has to come from you. If it's not coming from you, you will be as blunt or as tasteless as all the other videos on TikTok. It's just meaningless. Also, what you said about people like increasing toxicity using such trends, it's also so relevant because I need to define this for you. Toxicity is not just demeaning content. Toxicity is also uninformative or misinforming content. I want to say this very clearly. People misinform a lot of information in their content all the time, especially where TikTok and IG Reel videos say psychology says, or science says, or physics and chemistry says, and then some random uh, like romantic or stupid thing which they say. Like I've seen a lot of content in which they say that chemistry says, or something about scientific facts which are misinformed all the time just to prove something very, very shallow as information, to put it up as a trend on Instagram. They talk about anything and everything that the teenage eyes will catch attention to. They will talk about romance, they will talk about sex, they will talk about addictions, they will talk about being cool by smoking or heroin or substance abuse or alcohol. All of that stuff, it's been and done. It's not gonna make you cool. Sorry for that, but it's not gonna make you absolutely, you know,
Yeah.
content worthy is what the word is. And what you need to focus on is some reflection, some self reflection on what you're trying to say before you say something. It's not just about demeaning other people or other class of people or other class of or other category of people. It can be anyone whom you can think of, but it's also about you're misinforming people by saying something which you have no like no scientific or practical evidence to. If you don't
I
know
think
where
I
it's coming
completely
from,
agree. Yeah.
yeah, if you don't know where it's coming from, read about it first. If you don't know what you read is true or not, read about it first. Google it. It's right in your phones. If you just switch a tab, you have Google to search the information for you. It's not hard. Just to dig deeper and know what you're reading and what you're saying to other people. And
I
people
think
who are,
completely agree with you,
yeah,
Vipin, and I really want to reiterate this, that social media is not a pedestal or an achievement. So
yeah,
I can just sum up whatever you're saying in probably two lines and say that social media is a good servant but an equally bad master. So the moment you give it that place, then you've got nothing else to do. Then you really feel succumbed to it, surrendered to it. So very, very true to all the young people who are watching us and even others. It's social media is not the thing. Okay, so it's
yeah,
okay if you're trending today. You might not be trending tomorrow, so it's all right. Whether you're
yeah.
there, whether you're not there, it's just an opportunity. And
I,
Jaku,
I
Jaku
have been,
is still writing to us, and she has a
okay.
question. Should I put her question forward? So, Jaku,
Sure, why
hi
not?
again. So she
Yeah, why
says,
not?
what are the major factors that motivate the perpetrators of cyberbullying? So, what I think she means to say is that those who bully others, whether students or some other people, what do you think are the factors behind them? Why that pushes them to do that?
There is only one factor that I can think of off the top of my head. Again, if you want to have a full length conversation on it, Jacqueline, is that? Yeah, I think it's Jacqueline. So if it's a full length conversation you want, please feel free to DM me about it. We'll talk about it as much as we want. But if you want to talk about factors very quickly, which I'm not going to do, I'm going to derail a lot in the conversation. But the most important factor which I can think of is attention, because that's the only one thing they would crave when they're doing something out of spite. If they're doing something to either put you down in front of another person, so they're trying to get somebody else's attention to make fun of you, or in general, they would put you down by making fun of you in the open public, like putting a story up about some stupid spelling mistake you made or something. It can be something silly, it can be something very emotional, damaging, and personal. The scale is phenomenally wide, but where you are affected as a person who receives bullying will never be shown to the person who's craving the attention. So the bully who's craving attention will never care about what you feel. That's the only disregard that he is showing. That's the only thing he's at fault about. The action of like bullying you is not his fault. It's basically a lot of peer pressure of him or on him or her or them trying to get a particular state of attention from either people in general. It doesn't need to be one person or few people, or it can be one or few people itself. Try to be in, if he they if he she them are trying to get into the cool gang, they will try to um like point out at someone who's like in their minds weaker in some way, and try to um, point fingers at someone and make sure that the other people, the cool people in their minds, are giving them due attention. That's all they would care about. So my target is not their action on the person who's receiving the bullying, but my action is to um, have a conversation with the bullier by engaging in what they crave and what they desire. Is it the attention that they desire more, or is it just like the intention to harm someone? There is not a single human being you can ever meet in the face of the earth, no matter how destructive, demonic, or psychotic they are. They will not mean to do a harmful act to another person unless that motivation comes from um, like a vengeful heart or an attention seeking heart.
Yes,
So
attention
both of
seeking is the
both of
main
them
factor.
have, yeah, exactly. Both of them have their own means to it. Bullying
Yeah,
can also come from revenge. Bullying can also
yes,
come from other motives. I am not
yeah.
saying that it's not a factor. I'm saying there are many other factors. The most important factor is attention seeking, is what I feel.
All right. Thank you, Vipin. So I hope, Jaku, your question is answered, and I completely agree with Vipin. People, who probably haven't got that much attention, then try to seek attention, and sometimes not positively. It happens through not the positive way, not the right and just way, and that's when bullying happens. And there is reason behind everything, just as Vipin mentioned. And conversations can help so much in bettering this particular situation. I want to talk at the management level. So when we talk from the
Okay.
authoritative point of view, or the school management, the school system, the teacher community, the teacher body, what can we as the management and the teacher body and the school body do right now at this situation in our country to take care of students' emotional health, mental health? Some pointers, if you could give us.
The first thing I want to say is that to all the teachers who are watching this, if there are any, I would really want this to go out to other people. I want to say that once in a while you should let your professional barrier be broken. Let that wall of professional courtesy come down, and let's just be personal with your students once a while. There is no harm in that. I know that it's not your JD. I know that you're not paid to do this. I know that it's not even in your mental capacity to spend time with a teenager and try to hear them rant, and as an adult you can't relate, and I understand all of that. I've been there. I'm already doing that every day. But it will never hurt you to just hear a story out. It can be completely pointless. It can be a girl like crying over something as trivial as dropping ice cream on the ground. It can be something as emotionally deep and affecting them physically, psychologically, as domestic abuse in their homes. They will take their due time to open up. They don't know you, they don't trust you, you're not family, you're not friend, you're a teacher, and they will maintain a wall when they're trying to talk to you the whole time. And very few students will really open up and see that you mean good by speaking to them. But talk to them, let them get to know you. There is no fear in letting a teenager getting to know you. The worst they can do is talk about you behind your back, about you to your friend. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be ugly, but it's not going to affect your life. So as a teacher, the biggest risk you're going to take is going to be in somebody else's conversation. That's not at all a risk, if you ask me. So I would say that let that like professional barrier break once a while. I'm not saying take it off completely. It's a huge pain if you don't maintain that professional distance at all. There are some students, again, I'm not going to name names, but they end up calling me like stupid things like deer or honey, and that gets awkward. And that was very early in my career when I was thinking that a teacher can be a friend. But within the first year of my professional life, I realized that there are boundaries that even I would need to maintain, and I have kept a well maintained balance between that very thin line of being a teacher and a friendly teacher at the same time.
True.
But you don't lose your surname. You are that teacher throughout. You can be a strict teacher or a friendly teacher, but the word teacher should remain as a suffix throughout the
Yes.
time. So maintain that distance for sure, but let that professional wall break once a while. That's all I can say.
Yeah, so I think that is a great perspective what Vipin has given us. I don't know how many would really agree or disagree with you, but yes, I'm on your side. At times, we really need to break the barriers because the moment we put teachers and these adults on a high pedestal and students feel that they're on a low pedestal, then there is a gap. That is why they're not able to speak up. That's why the communication does not happen two-way. That is why relationships are not built. But the moment we are able to very finely balance that distance, but also get closer to them and really touch their souls, their lives, and influence them. That's where I think real education really takes place. Vipin, I would also like to ask you if you have to just sum up everything. So, what would be your chai pe charcha? What would be your chai pe charcha quote that you live by? Something that you really focus on and would like to tell the others.
Chai pe charcha in one quote. It will be learn to adapt to anything that you're not ready for. And if you can't adapt to it, it's time to ask for help. There are two things which people haven't been doing this entire quarantine is that they're not ready to adapt to change, huge changes which happen during quarantine, and they're not ready to ask for help. People have been extremely holding back. They're saying, I'm fine, everything is fine, I can handle this, this is my business, not your business. I understand privacy, I understand limitations, I understand boundaries, I understand that all. But there are two things which you need to learn, and it can be summarized in one sentence. Learn to adapt to what you can't face on your own, and learn to ask for help if you can't adapt to it. So that's my way of ending it in a quote.
That's awesome, Vipin. So, people, I think I would like to repeat this. As Vipin said, learn to adapt, whether you're a teacher or a student. I think whether you're not none of these, but we all are learners somewhere or the other. So we have to
Absolutely.
learn to adapt. I completely
Yeah.
agree, and we have to ask for help. There's no shaming in asking for
There's
help.
no shame in being
No
honest
matter
about
how old you
your
are, you can always ask for help, and no
absolutely.
matter how young
Yeah.
you are. And I
Yeah.
think we teachers especially need to have that because we always think that okay,
I
students need to
am
ask
that
for help, and,
teacher. I'm
and
telling you,
we
I am that teacher who asks for help during a Zoom call. I don't teach on Zoom. My organization teaches on Microsoft Teams. But if I don't understand a function, I need to understand that I'm stupid enough not to understand the function. A teenager will easily, a student who's played around with the app for so long to know how to hack into a class, will know easily how to fix the problem that I'm facing. So
yeah,
I can feel completely free asking a problem to be solved by my students, and I should
yes,
have no shame about it. There's a
yes.
gap about like learning between a generation, between me and my students, and I should not feel ashamed about asking help from them, and I haven't. So there, I hope that is encouragement enough.
Yes, that is encouragement enough. And again, Jaku writes, Sir's one sentence is the best because it never ends in one word. Well, whatever it means, that, yeah, that, whatever the quote that you said really has stuck, I think, in our audience minds and even in mine that, we really need to adapt. Today's day is like this, tomorrow it might be different. So if I don't
Yeah,
understand anything, I can learn from my students. The students
yeah.
then can learn easily from me because then it becomes two-way, right? So I hope, Vipin, you really enjoyed today's session. This is a platform where the student and the teacher everybody is getting to talk and share viewpoints so easily and so nicely, and we are doing it on social media, which is great. To all the people
Yeah.
who watched us today, we'll be there again next Friday. So please do follow, please do share the word. Like Dance Charcha Unplugged, Season 4, Episode 2. We were live with Vipin Raj today. We'll see him very soon again, hopefully. Thank you, audience. Thank you, Vipin. Thank you, everybody. So I think it's time to say bye bye. Have a good weekend.
Bye. Have a great weekend.
Bye.